Welcome to the Undergang Armchair. All right, greetings and salutations, friends and listeners of the Undergang Armchair podcast. We are finally back again. Welcome. It's nice to be here. We missed you guys. Everything has just been crazy. We've been in Barcelona, northern Denmark, at an art fair. We've been playing plumbers. We've been to weddings. We've been doing all sorts of stuff, and we're sorry we haven't been here doing the show. But we're back again. We're refreshed. We're happy, and we missed you guys. We missed you. It is, of course, as usual, late, and I'm frazzled. So we're going to go straight into the talk. We have a fantastic talk for you. We finally got together with, don't tell him I said this, but perhaps the smartest man in the world, Joshua Mittleman. You may or may not know him. He's quietly been part of a group of people here in Copenhagen, many expat Americans, but a group of people here who have been making, well, he mentions it in the episode. We don't want to call it avant-garde, but we want to call it experimental and searching, inquisitive, contemporary art here in town, which is really of a caliber that you don't see anywhere else around here. And it's really worth checking out. They make a lot of good work, and it's not at all the type of work which I'm personally am capable of making or usually even take part in or engage with. But it's extremely intelligent, and it's really it's kind of a missing puzzle piece in a well-rounded engagement with art. So they get nothing but respect from me, and I think and you know, they're wonderful to talk to and hear about their ideas and the way they do this work. It's similar to what they do up at New Shelter Plan, which we've also raved and ranted about before on this show, and now it's all coming together. Joshua Mittleman and old friend of the show, Gus Sondin-Kung, have curated a show which is opening up there this Friday called Your Consent is Implied. And I think your attendance should be implied as well. It'll be a great show. It'll be an interesting show. It'll be an intelligent show. And for anybody who's looking to bring thought processes into work, these are the group of people to be watching and paying attention to. So that's it. I'm going to leave it to our conversation with Josh. I hope I don't make a fool out of myself. You guys will be the judge of that. And I will see you guys up on the hill at New Shelter Plan this Friday.
I don't feel so isolated because I still go back to the U.S. a lot, and I have a lot of friends in the U.S., and I keep in touch with people. And
yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't feel that isolated. And plus, you can sort of keep abreast on whatever's going on.
Sure. Everywhere. Well, I mean, it's a connected world we live in.
Yeah. But then whenever I go to LA, I like going out to see comedy, and when I go to New York, see comedy, just like see stand-ups and stuff.
How often do you get to go back?
We go once or twice a year.
Yeah. Where's home? Are you going to visit family or?
Yeah, home. My home doesn't exist anymore, so I don't know. I grew up in Kansas.
Okay.
But nobody lives there.
Wichita?
Kansas City. And now my parents live in Arizona, so we go to Arizona. So That's the closest.
So there's no childhood bedroom to go and rifle through?
No.
What's up with Kansas City?
I haven't been there since I was 18.
I mean, I don't want to condescend, but that's one of those places which is kind of famous for being middle of nowhere, no culture, no closed-minded people. And I'm not a hater of the South or the Midwest or the country, but
it's just like anywhere. It's bigger than Copenhagen.
Yeah, there you go.
There's stuff going on, you have to look for it.
Sure. And I imagine like anything else, there's like, I don't want to call it an underground, but like, there's stuff. People are doing stuff, and people are fighting the good fight.
When I was 18, I wasn't into art. I was into art, but not like into making art. Or I didn't have friends who were artists so much, so I wasn't into that scene.
Were you studying?
Not really.
No. Did you just have no interest?
No, I had plenty of interest, but like, yeah. I mean, I wasn't serious, but sort of I had a serious trajectory. I was going to go to medical school, so.
So that is studying. That's cool.
College. I wasn't studying,
but how were you on a trajectory then?
Just getting into a good college. That was, but also goofing off.
Yeah,
a lot of goofing off.
I mean, goofing off is good. It's a good thing to do to find out what you want to do in a way.
Yeah.
It's just that goofing off that doesn't go anywhere.
But also thinking about getting out of where I was. That was the main thing, I guess.
Well, that's what college is for.
I had plenty of interest, but just not wanting to be there was my number one interest.
Right.
And get as far away as possible.
So how did you get away?
I went as far away as possible in the United States without leaving the country.
Let me see if I can do the math on this one. From Kansas City farthest away without leaving the country is Alaska?
Well, aside the continental
in the continental 48?
Yeah, continental 48.
All right. So either we're talking Maine.
Very good. I
Yes.
went to
Maine. What's in Maine?
I went to college in Maine.
In Portland or
what? North of Portland. There's a place called Bowdoin.
Okay. Was that a towards medical school kind of move?
Yeah, vague
Vaguely.
notions of going to medical school. But I studied biochemistry.
Okay.
With the thought of going to medical school or getting a PhD in chemistry or something.
Was that something you were interested in, or were you more interested in becoming a doctor? I mean, were you truly passionate about biochemistry, or was it more like a stepping stone?
No, I liked it. I picked it because it was interesting. It was kind of the hardest thing I could pick, basically.
Not afraid of the challenge. So you weren't goofing off as in the, like, I don't want to do any work goofing off.
No, I was goofing off plenty.
But I mean, obviously, if you choose, everyone else does sociology because they don't want hard work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that wasn't a big deal, that part of it. But then I just,
Yeah.
In college, I goofed off a lot.
Yeah. I did too. I went to art school and
this was serious. Like I was doing like working, but not hard.
Yeah. Were you passing?
Yeah, I did fine. Fine.
Is this one of those things like it was too easy almost?
No, it wasn't too easy. It was easy enough that I didn't have to work hard.
Uh-huh.
But work hard at studying. I didn't study.
Right. But I mean, clearly you had to have enough of a grip on the subjects to bullshit your way through the fact that you didn't study.
Yeah, it wasn't about, you can't bullshit your way through biochemistry.
Well, that's the thing I don't understand. The math doesn't add up then.
I didn't have to work hard in school.
Okay.
I could do well and not work hard.
Got it.
That's basically what it was. I didn't have to put any effort into working to getting good grades, getting decent grades. I just never had to work at school.
Right. What do your parents do?
My dad's a doctor and my mom's a social worker.
Okay, so they're highly educated as well.
Yeah, but school just was easy for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I had plenty of time to goof off.
Mm-hmm. Did you get into trouble?
Nothing serious.
Yeah.
No serious trouble.
Yeah. Just a lot of partying and meeting crazy people.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, also girls were like a big that was like a
huge distraction.
Of my focus.
Huge distraction. Yeah, that's what derailed my fucking art school career.
Yeah, it didn't derail me, but like it took most of my like focus.
Right. Well, I mean, that's the thing, because so I went to art school, and so what you get out of art school is what you put into it.
Yeah.
So I didn't fail any classes. There was no problem. But I could have used that time a lot better. Yeah,
art schools, you can bullshit your way through art school without any problem.
No problem at all.
Any wits about you.
Right. But there's just, I mean, you meet those people at art school who are, they or their parents are paying huge sums of money for them to go to this institution.
Yeah.
And they're barely doing it.
Goofing off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could goof. I mean, I was just like, I could goof off and then just do fine.
Still get the degree. Still do it.
Yeah.
Did you finish at that university?
Yeah. And then I moved to New York right after, like...
Goof off Central.
The day after I graduated.
Were you done with Maine?
Yes, totally done with Maine. Maine's great, but I was done.
I imagine it's beautiful there. It's part of the country I've never been in. I've never been to New England, basically.
Yeah, Maine is insanely beautiful.
It's really... Is it cold and windswept and there's craggy fishermen and...
Yeah, it's probably more like Norway or something where it's colder, but then it's not gray all winter.
Right. There's real weather.
And it's not so dark as it is here, you know?
Right. How do you deal with the weather here? Is it okay?
No, I don't deal with it very well.
Do you get like seasonal depression?
Yeah, it's tough for me.
Oh man.
Especially coming from California for so long. It's rough.
Right, where it's just sunny for
it's
most
nice
of the year.
every day it's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but we go back to the West Coast every year. So
in the winter. Yeah, I'm going to California for Christmas this year. It's the best. Yeah, January and February are a little rough.
Yeah.
But luckily, I think genetically being half Danish and half Irish, English, I'm
know how to handle it.
Yeah, I'm just, used to cold, dark nights and stuffing alcohol in your body to get through the winter, But my future wife is from Italy, and she also thinks it's kind of
depressing,
obscene, just like, why?
Yeah, I mean, it's so great, like especially with the summer, like we had, it's so nice to be here in the summer.
Amazing, yeah.
But then it's just such a downer from November till April.
It's funny too, because I meet people who visit in the summer and they're like, this is the most amazing place I've ever been. And you're like, yes, you are right. Right now it is. But
stick around. Stick around.
But what happened when you moved to New York? Did you go off the rails? Did you actually get serious about something, or what?
I was a biochemist for a while.
Did you get a job as a biochemist?
Yeah.
What does that entail?
I worked at a research, I worked at NYU.
White lab coats.
Yeah, the whole deal.
Eyeglasses and masks.
Yeah.
Art?
No art. I mean, I always loved art, and I took a lot of art history classes in college, and I always loved going to museums, and I knew a lot about art, but I wasn't making art.
Did you ever consider, was it in the back of your head somewhere, hey, I could do this?
It wasn't even a thought.
That was just something I just engaged in on a cultural level.
Yeah, so I was just working as a biochemist and goofing off a lot, a tremendous amount. And I just didn't. I was working in this lab doing these terrible things. Disgusting things.
What do you mean, ethically terrible?
No, not at all. I mean, my job was literally there were guys whose job it was to go to slaughterhouses and collect body parts from animals, like specific brains and hearts and whatever, and deliver them to labs across the city. My lab, I won't get into it, but we were looking at a certain protein, blah, 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 which happened to be in sperm. So he would drop off bull testicles to us every week. And my job was to process the bull testicles.
How does one process bull testicles?
In a blender you have to put some chemicals in it and blend it up and then freeze it in liquid nitrogen.
Wow.
And I've been a vegetarian since I was 16. So.
Wow.
And I was a terrible, I was not a good, I was not very careful in the lab. So I would spill bull testicles all over.
Bull testicle juice.
The stench would be intense.
Oh man. So are you saying maybe if you'd gotten a different biochemistry job?
No. That wasn't that big of a deal actually. Just like anything, you get used to it. But the guy I worked for was a pretty heavy duty scientist, and he generally only hired Asian females from China who, were more than happy to work 15-hour days, sleep in the lab, no holidays, had a work ethic I could not compete with.
Right.
And so it was just I can't. I mean, I just wasn't able to do that.
You weren't locked into that cycle.
No, I had friends and stuff, and I was kind of goofing off in there too.
Yeah.
I was playing with liquid nitrogen. I was not very careful, and we were dealing with some toxic chemicals and radioactive chemicals, and I would irradiate myself. And
oh my god,
I could check my fingers with a Geiger counter and stuff. So I was just not.
That sounds crazy.
Yeah.
So are you guys putting pranks on each other, freezing someone's lunch in nitro?
I mean, no, because there was nobody else who had that kind of mentality.
Everyone else was just locked in.
Yeah. I was not so serious. I would etherize myself because we had a lot of ether around. Just for fun.
On the clock, you'd be taking ether hits?
No, it was just we would use it, So,
wow.
But then I read I was looking at the label one day. I was like, and it can cause serious liver damage. So then I stopped.
Massive organ failure. I imagine.
I stopped doing that.
Well, I mean, all the good drugs can cause massive, the ones where you're really pushing the limits.
Yeah. So it just wasn't my I wasn't cut out for that.
Were you drifting? I mean, did you think okay, now what am I going to do? This isn't working out.
Yeah. What did I do after that? Right after that, it's hard to remember.
It's those ether hits.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. It's also a long time ago. I went. I was living with these guys, some friends of mine that were working at David Letterman, so I knew all those people from that, and then I would hang out with them. So getting into comedy and things like that, and then I can't remember. At the time also I was a DJ in college, not a
two turntable
DJ, playing music on the radio. Right. So I was really into music, and so I got a job at a record label.
What were you playing?
Just indie rock, 90s indie rock kind of stuff, and jazz and things like that.
Yeah.
So I worked at a record label for a while doing random stuff because there was a lot of record labels in New York. This was in 95, 96.
Right, this is when you still had to sell and buy music.
Yeah. So I worked at a record label. Then I worked at a magazine, interview magazine, like Andy Warhol's magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And I became friends with somebody there who had done the Whitney program.
Mm-hmm.
So I got into that. I found
that
out
another step closer to the art world?
Yeah, and then I was like, I was getting sick of being in New York and being poor, and so I left New York and went to South America for a while. Then I was thinking about what can I do that sort of blends my interests, and so I was considered going and getting a degree in art restoration. Because you need a science degree and also an art degree.
Right.
So I was like, I can do that. I like art, and I have a chemistry background. And most of the people who went into it were art history people. And so I figured I'd have an advantage because I was a real chemist.
Right, you actually knew about.
But then in order to get into there was a couple places that had a program, you had to have a portfolio of your own. So then when I moved back to New York after going to South America, I went to SVA, which is
the School of Visual Arts.
Yeah, School of Visual Arts. Yeah. And took classes, and that's when I started making art.
Okay, so you had to plug into a world where people were actually working around you and making art to start to realize that, hey, this is actually something anybody can do.
Yeah, and then once I started making art on my own, I got more interested in just making art on my own, and then one of the people at SVA had done was a visiting artist at Cal Arts. She's like, "Oh, you should go to Cal Arts." And I had no idea what it was, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
You're like, Walt Disney made it.
And then I started reading about it, and I was like, oh, "Okay, half of the major artists in the U.S. had gone through Cal Arts at some point, either as a teacher or as a student."
Right.
And I was like, "Okay, this is a serious place." And I somehow I got in. I don't know how. I think it's because the only reason why I got in was because I could write, because I went to a real school.
Writing is crucial.
And, a lot of the people who went to Cal Arts went to art school who were applying for the master's program. They didn't go to a real kind of didn't have a proper sort of academic foundation. I knew how to write and research. And so I wrote, I think it's because the way I wrote, because I didn't have much in my portfolio because I'd only been making art for 6 months.
That's wild. You might be the only person in the world who's gone to Cal Arts from 6 months of making art.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was super shocked that I got in.
I mean, because if you think about it, that's the sort of thing, everyone's always like, yeah, you have to apply 4 times, you have to this and that. But it is a good program.
And plus, I think I was also interested in the kind of art that maybe a lot of people who apply to art school weren't interested in. It's the kind of art that they teach at Cal Arts, but I was already kind of interested in that kind of stuff, like conceptual art and stuff from the 60s and 70s. And that's who, the people who were teaching there were also either part of that movement or were interested in that kind of art. And so that helped too, I think.
Well, I want to get to that in a second, but what happened in South America? Did you go on any vision quests?
No.
Just hanging out, getting away?
I was building houses in Bolivia.
I knew there was a good story in this.
Yeah. I mean, and then I just was traveling around.
Yeah.
I mean, I spent time in Bolivia and went to Argentina and Chile. I liked hiking, so I went hiking. And
Patagonia.
I went to Patagonia. Have you been there?
No.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's supposed to be spectacular. I've of course, read the book by Bruce Chapman.
Yeah, it was great. It was great.
Was that, I mean, it sounds kind of like there's been a lot of things you've kind of dipped your toes into to see what felt right.
Yeah, I always liked travel. I spent, like when I was in college, I spent a while in India and Tibet, like as a study program. So I really got into kind of traveling.
And obviously getting away, you weren't going to Canada.
Yeah.
Or
I
Western
wanted to
Europe,
say, I was basically the same way. I went to college. I was like, okay, I'm getting bored here. I want to go far away from here. And most of the people I was friends with, or most people at school, they did their like time abroad in Europe. And I was like,
Right. They go to Germany
not so
and they go to Love Parade and they.
Yeah. And so I decided to go somewhere further away.
Yeah. My girlfriend, being Italian, always laughs at the Americans coming through. You can see them with their backpacks and they're so like, we're here. There's a train. Look, it's a train,
Yeah.
But, all right. So, all of a sudden, bam, you're at CalArts and one of the most well-known, one of the best master's programs in the country.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see a trend here. That you're just kind of like, I just kind of got a biochemistry degree. I didn't really try. I was fucking around. Then whoop-de, bam, I'm at CalArts.
Yeah, CalArts was great. I mean,
but you also said that you were kind of specifically interested in conceptual art and like the change through the 60s and 70s in the art world.
Yeah.
Was that like as soon as you started at SVA, did you immediately lock into conceptual art?
It wasn't what I was making at the time. I was doing like prints, like I've always been into kind of poster making and silk screens and things like that. So I was making silk screen posters.
Right, because you weren't painting or doing life drawing.
No, because I've only taken one drawing class in my life. I've never taken a painting class.
Did you enjoy it at all, the drawing?
Yeah, I like to draw, but I'm not like, I don't have any sort of natural talent in drawing. I mean, I can draw a little bit, but I'm not.
Yeah, but I mean, it's also just a method of expression. You locked into a different method of expressing
it's just
ideas.
it just wasn't my thing. I mean, I still draw. I still make drawings, but that wasn't sort of what I was super interested in. I mean, drawing as a method to express like some kind of concept or idea, not as a aesthetic practice.
Right.
Which is great because I don't draw that well. So
it is handy.
I wish I did. I always wish I could draw better.
Well, I mean, I locked into photography before I even started. Like, I just knew it took me a while to be able to get into the position to do it. But I knew for about 2 years, I was like, I need to do this. Like, that's what I want to be doing. And sure enough, as soon as I started, that was it. Like, you just lock into some sort of like vehicle for creation, and I can kind of draw. I think if I dedicated a lot of time to it, I could probably be pretty good at drawing.
Yeah, it's just like anything else. I mean, that's what I realized also when I was taking a drawing class. I was like, oh, like you can learn how to do this.
It's a lot of fucking work.
I always knew kids who could draw, and I was like, that's amazing. I mean, there's a few people who can just draw naturally, but then it's also a skill you can learn.
Sure, but even the natural skill has a limit unless you develop it and flesh it out.
But I was never that interested to
Right. I found it boring. That's why.
Yeah.
But so you locked in with this conceptual art. I mean, was it the expression of ideas in kind of a pure form that engaged with you, or?
I mean, for me, it was kind of about, just sort of, I always thought the idea was more important than the actual finished product anyway. So,
right, because that's what it seems like to me. Conceptual art's main focus is that you have an idea and then the object or even the expression of said idea is completely driven by that concept.
Yeah. So that's always the driving factor. It's also a way to sort of approach asking questions and, not looking for answers, but just a way to kind of ask questions and investigate the world through asking questions.
Right. Well, yeah, there's very rarely answers. I mean, for me, the conceptual art that I really lock into is actually the ones that strike me emotionally.
Yeah.
So like some of my favorite conceptual art would be like Felix Gonzalez Torres.
Yeah.
Because I can feel the pain of his missing partner.
Yeah.
Or the symbolics of having a pile of candy, which is the same weight as a dead partner. That whole thing like really locks into me. Whereas the more academic, sometimes I can say that's a good idea, but I'd rather just talk to someone about it. I'm not sure these ideas are best suited always in the art context.
Yeah. I mean, if you have, I think it's always, I always think about it like you have to have access points for the people who are looking at it. Like if you have a good aesthetic sense, or if you have a sense of humor, that's a way to kind of like get access to these things that might have sort of some heavy concept behind them.
Right.
But if you don't have that, then it gets to be too dry.
Right.
And then it's hard to get into it if it's too dry.
It is, and I think a lot of people force the issue too. Like for me, I have spent some years of my life, pretending that I was an intellectual, or thinking that the grand idea was the real way to make art, or however you want to say it. Like just basically not being exactly true to myself. And I made some really terrible conceptual art. That's essentially what art school is in a lot of ways, is a space to make terrible conceptual art in. But at a certain point, I think for some people it is natural. It is the most natural access into creation of art, etc. But why do that instead of being an academic, instead of exploring these ideas?
I don't know. I like to make things, and I think that's the way I sort of like to ask these questions.
And the freedom of it, I guess.
Yeah, through this process.
Yeah. Was it 2 years at CalArts? It was a 2-year program?
Yeah.
Was it everything you hoped it would be?
I had no expectations at all, so
that's handy.
It was everything I hoped it would be.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a really good time. I made some really good friends.
Did you goof off a lot too?
I goofed off a lot.
Did you?
A tremendous amount. But I still had a good time and had really good friends. And then sort of, I really, I had a really good experience with a couple of the professors there, and I had a good sort of relationship.
Were you cramming too? I mean, because you just opened up a world kind of recently. Were you trying to catch up? I guess you said you took art history courses earlier.
Yeah, like I knew about art history and I had read a lot. So I wasn't behind and maybe ahead in some aspects, just because I had a body of knowledge that other people didn't have. I mean, It was also for me, it was about trying to figure out how to make the right sort of aesthetic choices and, how to kind of fully conceptualize a piece of work and what works for me and what doesn't, and kind of abandoning all these other things that were kind of getting in the way. And it is actually a way to kind of, get rid of all these extraneous things that didn't help. Right. So if I was making a piece, usually it would be the simpler things would be the better things that have sort of better luck with. And the more I added into it, or the more I tried to aestheticize it or add layers that weren't necessary, the worse it would get. So
the more clunky and
that's still how I do things. I try to do things today, and I feel like if I'm doing something and it's the simplest version of it is usually the best in my eyes.
That makes sense, but it's a tough line to walk. But I mean, there is true. That's one of the issues with I think people who are just starting out or trying to force the conceptual art hand, is they do try to pack too much. They equate lots of ideas with
and I don't even know if I call it conceptual or just art in general. Right. Kind of the art I respond to.
Right. Do you respond to art that isn't conceptual art as well, or are you just kind of walking?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily have sort of this aesthetic response to art so much. I mean, I can really appreciate the set of skills that people have that I don't have, that I would be nice to have, you know? I can look at something and say,
I mean, let's take Picasso. It's very little idea-driven
Yeah.
art. It's all technique and
Yeah, I don't know.
art.
I don't know
Crazy
about that.
person. I don't know. I mean, I've read about him a little bit. He didn't particularly spend a lot of time talking about. He talked about like he had big ideas about how one should live their life.
Yeah.
And how they should. You know.
Yeah, but he was also sort of breaking ground and
Yeah.
technique-wise.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Also content-wise, painting prostitutes or
Right.
doing things like that.
Yeah.
Blending the low and the high kind of.
So what happened when you were done with art school? Were you like, that's it? It's on.
No,
I'm an artist now.
After art school, I mean, I really sort of had a good experience with a couple of professors there, and then that helped me get into the Whitney program in New York. So then I moved to New York.
On to another fantastic program.
Yeah.
Wow. And is that another 2 years or what?
That's a year.
That's a year. The Whitney program, as famous as it is, I don't know that much about it.
Yeah, it's run by this guy, this kind of well-known character in the art world in New York named Ron Clark, and it's just this kind of place where you can go as an artist or a curator or a writer, and you just attend seminars, and they have interesting artists come in and give seminars, and you meet with those artists. And
there's very few people there, right?
Yeah, there's like 20 people.
Yeah.
Then you just do readings and have discussions and have
just beating ideas, just gang bang.
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of well known for not a place to like make a lot of work.
Yeah,
but it's more like to think and discuss and talk,
right.
And also meet people. Meet
networks.
I'm like I don't have that skill, but like these are also just meeting these people that you've read before or people whose art you've been
right
interested in before. So they have an amazing group of people that come in, like Hans Hake and Vito Acconci and Yvonne Rainer and Mary Kelly and Benjamin Buchloh and Hal Foster. And so these kind of
you get to meet the people you've been studying for all these years.
Yeah, exactly. And then to talk to them and show them your work and have discussions with them. And
right.
So that was good. And then the other really big part of that was the people I was with. I made really good friends there, and people I'm still friends with, and
Right. So getting locked in on that kind of program was just the right place for you.
Yeah, it was great.
And then is it, you've been hopping around from program to program. At that point, is it just like done?
Yeah, there's nothing. I mean, there's
nowhere else to go after.
Well, there's no PhD. There was no like PhD in art at that time. Now there is, not so much in the US, but that was it. There was no more like schooling to be had,
right.
So then it was just like, okay, like try to live, how are you going to make a life now?
Here we go. I got to work.
Yeah.
Was it a clear choice that you were going to be an artist, or was it not even a choice, or was it just like, here we go, this is it?
Yeah, I mean, that was it. That was like,
I guess after CalArts and the Whitney,
but then I also
silly to go back to doing medicine.
But then I also had to work. That was the thing. Living in New York,
right?
I had a pretty good situation with my girlfriend at the time, so we had a nice place to live, but I still had to pay the bill. I paid my bills. And so, from then, that's been the life I've had, just living and working and trying to make art and trying to make some money.
What kind of shitty jobs did you have to work?
The worst of the worst would be medical testing.
This is after the Whitney?
Before, during.
Okay.
That was pretty bad.
Medical testing? Like they're doing testing on you?
Yeah. Pharmaceutical testing. That was the low.
Oh, man.
That was the low point.
And you're like, blisters. Lots and lots of blisters.
Then I taught, because I had a degree in biochemistry. So it's easy to get it. It's pretty hard to get a job as an art teacher in a school, but it's pretty easy to get a job in a difficult neighborhood with a chemistry degree.
Is this like high school teaching, or is this like community college? Or?
No, it's teaching high school. So I started teaching I can't remember what came from. Oh, I started teaching in the South Bronx.
Okay.
Teaching, I guess I was teaching science in the South Bronx.
Right.
Science and math.
That's tough being a teacher in tough neighborhoods.
Yeah, it was, but that was the only place I could get a job.
Right. I mean, I have
and you didn't need
friends.
you didn't need a teaching degree, so
Right.
they just, they needed people.
Right. Well, I mean, I have a couple of friends who did Teach for America.
Yeah, this is kind of like that, except for no program. Just like, hey,
Right.
I need a
You're
job.
on. Go.
Here's the South Bronx. I'd never been in the South Bronx before.
Did you end up? I mean, did that end up being a good experience, or was that?
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
I mean, it teaches you really how to try to get through to people and relate to people who are actively resisting learning anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't say they're actively resisting learning anything. Just
well, it's just some people who
they
have
just
so
have
much-
difficult circumstances.
Exactly, which makes it really hard for
Difficult circumstances I can't relate to. Like
Right.
I can empathize or sympathize, but I can't. I don't know what that's like.
Right.
So that was fine. That was good. And then I went from there and I taught in like a very like swanky private school in New York.
But are you showing work at the same time?
A little bit, yeah.
You making work?
Some, yeah.
You just thinking the big thoughts and just kind of
After the Whitney, I didn't make a ton of work. Yeah.
You were used to not making work?
Yeah, just not that. Just like trying to live life, I guess.
Yeah. Goofing off.
Goofing off. Yeah, I can't remember.
You got a really good run at goofing off in there.
And I think I split up with my girlfriend at the time. And then what happened? Oh, yeah. And then I got into some other stuff. Like I was working in fashion for a while.
Like you really were engaged, or was it just a day job, or what?
Just a job.
Okay. What were you doing?
I was doing. I lived in Chelsea with my girlfriend.
Art and gay people?
Yeah, art and gay people. And one of my neighbors tried to pick me up because I had a dog, and it was a big deal to have a dog. Like a lot of people had dogs in Chelsea. And then he realized I wasn't gay. And then
he was like, "What are you doing here?"
And then he ended up. I needed work, and he ended up giving me a job.
Yeah.
He was like a fashion stylist.
Okay.
So I worked with him.
Like as an assistant or something?
Yeah. Doing like celebrity photo shoots and award shows. And
now, if I could describe the face you're making right
TV
now.
commercials.
Oh man, was it okay? I don't want. Again, I'm not going to guess. But was it? What was it? Was it terrible? Was it okay? Was it real people just doing an honest day's work, or was it?
I don't know. I don't know what it was. It was weird. It was weird. It was odd. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't. It's hard to explain. I mean, he was my good friend at the time. We became good friends. And like,
Right. Well, I think that's what happens when you work in those kind of situations is you find your people.
yeah,
You're just like, it's us versus them, you know?
yeah. He was a good guy, and I could make a lot of money in a short period of time.
There's a lot of money in that world, I imagine.
Especially at that time.
Yeah.
So, I could work and then sort of have time to do other things and art things and make, think about art and make art and then
Right.
sort of work for a week and then have time off.
Did your art take a turn towards fashion?
No,
Was it-
never. I always had
have
sort
to
of
skewer them?
I always had kind of a distance from the whole thing.
Right. You were just there making the paycheck.
Yeah.
Did you meet any shitty celebrities?
Actually, nobody was shitty to me.
That's good.
I met some. I mean, I worked a lot with like weird people. I mean,
Well,
it's just like I worked a lot with like Janet Jackson.
Right. Well, I think like
I can't relate. Like, what am I going to say to Janet Jackson? I mean, like
Right.
she was perfectly nice.
right. It's just a completely
I
professional relationship.
spent a lot of time with her.
Right.
But it's like
I didn't know
have
you. We're just working.
no point of relationship with you. Like it's like working with a space alien. I mean, not to say that she was always super nice.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I had meals with her.
Right.
Spent time in her house.
Wow.
But stuff like that, it's like, okay, like, I don't know. I'm not,
Right.
What do you
I'm into conceptual art.
What the
She's
fuck you
like,
say to,
mhm.
like.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. And I think as easy as it is to make fun of that world and that industry and all that,
Yeah.
people work their asses off in it.
Oh, yeah, man.
And they're really professional.
Yes, totally. Nobody there were so many shitty people in that world, but they weren't the famous people.
Right.
The famous people were usually, what do they have to be upset about?
So, I'm here.
Life is good, man.
Right.
Yeah, life is great for them. So it's the people around them that are trying to cling to their job. They're clinging to their jobs and they're worried and they're shitty people.
Right.
And
it's competitive.
It's super competitive. And I wasn't that, I'm not competitive and especially not in that arena. So
that gives you an advantage, I guess. You just don't have to lock in with people who are acting crazy.
Yeah.
Do you see any connection between the art world and that world?
Yeah, but the art world that I'm pretty removed from.
Yeah. The
art world that I've seen through other people and, you get glimpses of, but, not the art world that I'm a part of.
You just don't pay any attention to it?
No, you just don't. I don't know. I just don't encounter it that much unless, you do, especially not here. I guess it exists here to some extent, but it
does. Yeah, it does.
I just have none of the people that I know here are kind of in that world. And then the people I do know who are in that world, I see it sometimes, and you see it in New York and Los Angeles. And
well, I do want to hear how you came here, but I also do really want to talk about the world you have built up here, because you and some people around you seem to have kind of made a clearing for yourselves. You have, I don't know if I want to call it like you guys have built up something, but you found each other and you're working on your own level. You're self-producing.
Yeah.
You're self-presenting.
Yeah, but that's just because you have, there was nobody, you had to carve it out. I felt like I had to sort of carve out a little space for myself here because nobody's offering you anything. And it's a very insular society, and to sort of get into the art community here is very difficult. And luckily I had, my wife's a part of the art community here. So I knew a lot of people.
Oh yeah? Who's your wife?
Pia Ronneke.
I heard of her. I haven't met her. I think we've probably framed some stuff.
I'm sure you have. She's she went to the academy here, and she knows a lot of people in the art world here.
Right.
So,
And that's the ticket, is the academy.
Here,
they all have that
in Copenhagen.
Yeah. There's the art academy kids, and they all know each other, and they all have an entry ticket, or at least they won't get locked out on the street right away. I'm not saying they're getting anything for free or easily.
Yeah,
I'm just saying they're already part of a setup, a build. Yeah, towards the professional art career. Because here everything is so, there's a goddamn education and scaffolding here. Everything is so education based.
Yeah, if you're not part of that world, it would be very difficult. I get a pass because I came up somewhere else, and they know the places that I went to. They're familiar with Cal Arts and the Whitney, so it's somewhat transferable, but not completely.
Right. So, did you start knocking on doors at first and then say, fuck it, I'll do it myself?
No. I've never knocked on doors.
You're not a door knocker?
No, but it seems fairly useless, to knock.
Well, it metaphorically.
No, I know.
Just I'm trying to get in there somehow. Which is essentially what I'm trying to do right now.
Yeah. Yeah, Yeah, I'm a terrible networker, and I'm not very social, and I have lots of things standing in my way in terms of, being more visible.
How's it going with the goofing off?
Oh, yeah, now I'm older and I have a kid, so I don't goof off at all anymore. Yeah, there's no more goofing off.
Did I just quickly gotta connect this? Did you come to Denmark because of your wife?
So I was at Cal Arts my wife and I went to college together at the same time. We were friendly there. We weren't that close. We had sort of different friends.
Mm.
I was more into goofing off, and she was more not into goofing off. And so were the people I was friends with. But it was a small group, and we were all actually really friendly.
It's a small school.
Yeah, it's 20 of us in our class.
Yeah.
And then I moved. I had a girlfriend, and I moved back to New York to live with my girlfriend, and then and to go to the Whitney, And then she moved back to Denmark, and then I moved to LA a few years after the Whitney. I just kind of got fed up with New York and needed an escape. And I was doing more of this fashion stuff. I was on my own now, like, so I was making decent money, you know. I could make and combined with my sort of like lazy work ethic, I could work a week, a month, and like make a chunk of money and then not work for a while.
That's nice.
And so I was living in LA, and then she came back to LA to do a residency. They had this great residency in LA where you got an apartment in, I don't know if you know LA, but you got an apartment in Silver Lake and a car.
Wow, a car. Smart people. They understand LA.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, and then when she was at that residency, we ran into each other.
Okay.
And then we started seeing each other from then.
And she was like, "Dude, come to Denmark."
No.
Like, where?
It was more like, you know, we could stay in LA, but life is tough in LA if you want to sort of have a family, and you know, so we thought about, you know, we were commuting back and forth kind of for a while
Between Denmark and the US?
Yeah, it was we were seeing each other and like going back and forth.
I got
it was like really
that doesn't work.
Detrimental financially, and because I was making decent money at the time, but it was freelance. So if I wasn't
if you weren't answering the phone, you weren't getting work.
Yeah, so we had to settle on one. You know,
Do you guys Rochambeau for?
No, we just looked around and like the friends we had in LA who got married and had families. It was a struggle.
Shit show.
Here it's so different. You know,
it is, man. It's wild.
So we just decided, and also like I wasn't making that much work at the time,
right?
So I wanted to have more opportunity to make work. And
so, did you find that you made more work when you got here?
In the beginning,
well, the first year is usually
yeah. In the beginning, it was tough just because when I moved here, they had a right-wing government, and they didn't want me.
When was this?
This was 2008.
Okay, we moved here around the same time.
Yeah.
I came a little before you. But.
There was like a strong feeling that foreigners were not wanted. It was really tough.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. But they weren't. You were kind of like collateral damage, weren't you? They don't particularly have a problem with well-educated Americans.
No, but it was tough. I mean, just tough. Like I had part of my visa, you know, like to get residency, I had to have a job, like a proper job. We had to put in a
ton of money.
Yeah. I had to go to Danish class. It was like 10 hours a week of Danish class, and
yeah, it's fucked.
I don't want to, complain about that, but it was just I was stressed, and then we had a baby, and then like I was working and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
So the beginning
simmer down before you can make some art.
Yeah, and then I started getting much more productive in the last few years again.
So where are we at now?
Now.
I mean, now things are settled down. I assume you are not having trouble with the government.
No, the government's fine.
It's the man's off your back.
Almost. I almost am a permanent resident of Denmark.
Your kid is getting older.
Yeah.
So you get to sleep a little more, I imagine.
Yeah.
And this is about where we meet each other.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago.
Framing some posters about crystal meth.
And I was like, what's up with this guy? Did you just bring a sheet of acid into here? Like, what I immediately noticed about you, aside from the fact that it's always exciting to meet Americans and hear why they're here, it's almost always an interesting story, was that I did not, having been here for a while and working, seeing art every day, my job involves seeing what is hanging, what is selling.
Yeah, you have a good idea of what's going on.
I do. And what you came with, I haven't seen anything like it or really seen like where it would go.
Yeah.
Like when you came with it, I was like, who's going to put this on the wall?
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with it. But like, there's nobody.
You know who puts it on the wall? Me. I have some friends of mine.
Right. But it's coming. It's coming. Yeah. You guys have started to build something. You have an exhibition space here.
Yeah.
Which is great. And some of the new spaces like new shelter plan. And, it's coming. And then people are even responding.
Yeah.
But at that time I was just like, oh man.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the work real fast. What? It's not about drugs, right?
No, it's not. It has very little to do with drugs. Like
that's kind of what I figured.
I mean, the stuff I'm doing now has to do with sort of with the way technology is going. There's a space that's created at the forefront of technology that, because of the way governments and states are, they're slow to adapt, and so lawmaking and regulation making is behind what's happening out in front. So there's a space out in front of governments and states where a lot of things can happen.
They can't make things illegal before they're invented.
Yeah, in this space, but it's also they take advantage of this space too, this lawless space, by eavesdropping and by, invading people's privacy, because it's this lawless territory. But then there's other people who utilize the space to sell drugs or to sell stolen things or, trade,
So you're thinking like the Silk Road marketplace?
Yeah, things like that. So the Silk Road marketplace or sort of the government spying all transpires because there's this gap at the edge of technology where a lot of different things can happen.
Right.
So it's this space of possibility, and this space will always be there because technology is always progressing, and the lawmaking and the regulation making is always going to be behind technology a few steps.
And since technology is moving faster and faster, it might also widen space.
Yeah.
Now, how do these ideas manifest themselves? Because clearly it's an interesting topic.
Yeah.
But does it have to come back to you 4 times in a row before you really start engaging? Or
no, it's just different things I'll get interested in. I was really interested in banned books for a while. And like the trading of banned books and sort of illicit information and, also, with what happens with these illegal marketplaces that crop up, and also the history of like crystal meth was interesting because it was sort of it was created by a pharmaceutical company, but then the recipes have been passed down over the years through different organizations like bikers and Nazi, right-wing Nazi skinhead guys in the U.S. and how this information gets traded and passed along and mutated and perfected. And
you helped pass it along.
Yeah.
The first thing I framed to you was a poster with the chemical breakdown of crystal meth.
Yeah.
Although that didn't tell me how to make it. It was just the chemical breakdown.
Yeah. But it
seems like, again, gray areas comes up then. Yeah. Whether it's drugs, books, technology, you're interested in this zone between firm walls.
Yeah, lawlessness and just how information's disseminated and utilized.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about the show that's coming up here.
So the show is about sort of these similar ideas, and also this notion of coming in and out of a digital space and what transpires in this digital space. And so we have work. One of the pieces is by this guy named Ido Stern, and it's he's an American artist. He also went to CalArts.
Sounds familiar, but I don't.
He does a lot with gaming, which is a world that I'm not that
does he have
knowledgeable
a big
about.
Online presence?
Yeah, probably, yeah. But it's just, there are these massive, what are they called?
Oh, the
massive multiplayer universe? Online role-playing games.
Yes, yeah.
And so it's these two guys playing this game, ostensibly two adults, and then they get into some fight online. And the fight kind of just gets really weird. And then one of the guys wants to actually fight the other guy, like meet up at a certain spot, fly to a certain spot. And so it's this kind of these two characters inside this digital world who want to pull each other out. One of the characters wants to pull the other out and actually beat him up or get into a fight.
Is this the artwork?
Yeah. Okay. So it's an animation of this dialogue between these two characters.
Okay.
And then one of the pieces is, it's a reimagining of this Hollis Frampton structuralist film where he was taking snippets of letters from signage around, where he was, and then kind of constructing the alphabet. And she did the same thing, but with the webcam footage, not webcam footage, like security footage, like that was grabbed.
Okay.
So it's sort of reimagining the structuralist film.
Is that your work?
No, this woman named Natalie Bookchin.
Okay. So you guys have put together this exhibition.
Yeah,
right?
we curated it.
You and Gus Sondin-Kung.
Yeah, we curated it.
Okay.
So these are just some of the works in the show.
Okay.
And then there's a work by this artist named Zach Blass, and it's about facial recognition and creating these masks, these anti-facial recognition masks.
So you guys are not only interested in this buffer zone.
Yeah, that's the buffer. This zone, that space is the thing that I'm sort of specifically interested in.
Well, that's the thing, because now you're showing at a space which is in kind of an art world buffer zone.
Yeah,
it's ahead of the curve. It's showing work which is ahead of the curve, and so there isn't. It's just as it is with those kind of places. Like people are paying attention, people who are engaged and interested, and a lot of people aren't.
Yeah.
There's no money in it. Luckily, the state is here to help support, and I think Copenhagen DK.
Got some money. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the state supports so much stuff here.
Yeah, that kind of blew my mind when I first moved here. Like,
it's wild, huh?
As an American, it seems. I mean, there's obviously like it's a double-edged thing because people are dependent on the state.
They really are.
So it's this weird thing where it's great, like it's great to get some dough from the state, but then it's also like you have this dependency set up where,
Well, there just isn't that much private funding.
Yeah.
It's coming. That model is, I think, growing somewhat, but
I guess.
Or
in the US where it's either the commercial world or nothing.
Well, that or maybe if you're lucky to get some private funding.
Yeah.
But it has it's few and far between,
Yeah, it's not like here where some people can count on a big check every
people months. Literally make a living from the state.
Oh, I know, yeah.
It's wild. But I mean, this show, thank you for the state. This show is supported by the state, and I do feel like the state does a pretty good job of staying out of what it is.
Yeah.
Although it is, of course, unavoidable that they have somewhat of an agenda, which would be the agenda anytime you get a group of people together, a board to look at things and decide what is valid and what isn't.
Yeah.
But tell me also about your exhibition space.
Yeah, we just decided we had this really nice space in Vesterbro, and it's an old storefront. There was four of us. It was, but now it's just my wife and I.
Okay.
And so we just turned the front room into an exhibition space. I mean, the first series I created was just for expat artists in Denmark.
Mm-hmm. Right. Miriam Jaffrey was here, and Gus, and was Jane also here?
No, Jane wasn't.
She's an expat, of course. Yeah. I already think of her as not being Danish.
But Yvette Brackman and Bonnie Fortune and Brett Bloom,
who I went to school with.
Brett Bloom?
No, with Bonnie.
Did you really?
Yeah. I knew Bonnie back in the day in Chicago. My old roommate, Nick Lucking, was friends with Bonnie.
Oh, wow.
And we were at a show at Gus's space, the old one he had in Maripol.
Yeah.
And I was like, I swear I went to school with that girl.
That's crazy.
And I was like, I did go to school with that girl.
Does she remember you?
Yeah. We didn't hang out directly, but we had friends who were friends. And so she'd been up to one of the apartments I lived in and stuff.
I didn't know you grew up in Chicago.
I didn't. I come from California, but I went to SAIC.
Okay.
For 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And then the goofing off became too large. And I just decided it wasn't worth the money.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So the other work in the show, I did this thing where, you can buy, credit card numbers and PIN numbers off the deep web.
Dude, what laws are you breaking by doing that?
Well, I didn't break any laws, but one could purchase credit card numbers.
Okay, I got it.
And one could download them to a USB, and then that person could encrypt the USB and then encase it in lucite so you couldn't use that information.
Got it.
So I have a piece that would resemble that kind of thing that somebody could do.
Got it. Yeah, you're very interested in like the carriers of information too, it seems like.
Yeah. How people like utilize information and disseminate information, you know.
What was it about? Like, I remember also we framed a sheet of acid for you,
Yeah.
which I assume was not acid.
Yeah.
I was touching it with my bare hands.
That was just paper. That was just paper.
But it was, you know, it was supposed to be a sheet of
it was unacided.
Sheet.
It was a sheet of acid paper. But it was about the process of buying this piece of paper or sort of serving as this analog for an actual sheet of LSD.
Was it tough to find un-LSD'd LSD?
No, it was not tough at all.
I guess that's not the illegal part. So
yeah,
I hear LSD is really hard to get a hold of these days. At least when I was in Chicago, September 11th went down, and then everyone was like, "There's no more acid."
Yeah, I mean, if there's a will, there's a will.
Yeah, of course. Everyone just started eating handfuls of ecstasy instead.
I'll show you a few things.
Well, yeah, I mean, Silk Road changed that too.
Yeah, but there's other places now. I mean, that's gone, but there's other places.
Right.
I mean, it's really it's a really kind of poor way to buy drugs, I think, if you were going to do that. Just because
seems like it.
It's very expensive, you know, it's above market value. And then there's always this kind of breakdown of the anonymity because they have to send it to you in the post. So
right. And I remember you could buy guns and stuff too. Like you could get someone to mail you illegal weapons, which seems to be real dangerous.
Yeah. Who knows? I mean, there's in these marketplaces, you could buy a human being or something. You know what I mean? It's unlimited what you could buy. Whether it's actually true or not, who knows? But I mean, there's people saying they're selling all kinds of goods and services.
That's wild.
Yeah. And who knows? Yeah. Like I said, most of it's probably garbage, but so there's some weird stuff going on.
So what's up with the space? You said you did a series of expat artists.
Yeah. And there's going to be my wife is curating another series that's starting in January here. Okay,
so you guys do it in blocks. You do it as a series.
Sort of the idea was each person was going to curate a series. And then Johannes was another artist here, and he also curated a series.
Was he doing lectures down here too?
No, maybe he did one or two. But it was
Swamp and Kelp Festival.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was sort of like the group he came up with,
right?
You know, and so a lot of the artists from his group of people showed here.
So what is the goal of your exhibition space in your mind?
Oh, the space?
Yeah. Like what are you trying to achieve?
The space is just, there's no goal. I mean, we didn't get the space as an exhibition space. It was more of an afterthought in that like, once we got the space, we're like, oh, it would be a shame not to do something here. Mm-hmm. So we don't envision this as sort of like a burgeoning exhibition space, but just sort of a place that has an opportunity to be something.
So when something strikes your fancy, or you maybe think, no one else is going to show this.
I mean, it's
interesting.
Once my wife will have the third series of shows here. So it's just like, okay, if there's a good opportunity, if we see something, I mean, we don't want to make an alternative space here.
Right. Are you applying for money to run it or anything like that?
No, she did, but we applied for segments in chunks,
okay.
You know, not as an ongoing endeavor, just because we don't have the time with our own practices and jobs and stuff to sort of run a space. But hopefully it'll continue in some, so it's continuing, and hopefully after she's done, it'll continue.
Right.
After that. So we don't, it's not going to be this continuous thing that goes on into the future. But hopefully it'll be an intermittent.
Right. I mean, it does actually sound like it will be a future thing.
Yeah.
It's just when it's
not continuous though.
Right.
It's not going to continually be an art exhibition space, but hopefully it will continue to have these intermittent shows that happen.
What about your practice? I mean, is the goal to be a 100% independent working artist? No day job, no nothing?
Yeah, sure. But I mean, there's also, I don't create the kind of work that there seems to be a market for, you know, nor, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't want to say you're right or wrong. You know, I think that my heart. I mean, I am definitely the intelligent fool when it comes to the art world. Like I really want to believe the best for a lot of things. But you know, it's true. Very few people do. I mean, okay, the only thing I can say is that here you do have two options. There is the commercial art world, which you may be realistic in thinking that's not a possibility. Yeah. And then there's the exhibition public support world as well.
Yeah, I mean, sort of right now it's just getting more opportunities to show work and make work. And
do you feel like you're just getting started in a way?
Yeah, building up some momentum.
Was it tough? Like, do you think it hurt your career, if you want to talk about it in those terms, to come to Denmark?
It's hard to say. I mean, I've never had it.
You never had a career before?
Never been career-minded in terms of art. You know, like it's more just about trying to think about work and make work. And
aren't you worried?
No, just because I have the ability to make money in other ways.
You'll know you'll always be able to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, because making money in other ways makes me angry.
Yeah, I don't necessarily want to, but, you know,
you're not going to let it bother you.
What can, you know, I mean, I also don't want
What can you do? You can make some Jeff Koons-ish bullshit metal sculptures and try to sell them for a couple $100K. That's what you can do.
Or not even try. You have people queued up to buy them.
Yeah, exactly. I was just reading about Chris O'Feely and his collection of cars.
Yeah.
You know, like there is that weird strata that does somehow get reached by some people.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have friends like that. Not like that, but
make a solid living.
More than a solid living, you know?
Yeah.
And
it's a lot of work.
They're better than me. You know, in certain they have certain characteristics that are sort of like better than mine, you know?
I think we should call this episode "They're Better Than Me." Yeah, well, I mean, of course you talk, I mean, I catch a lot of shit at home because as much as my fiance likes art and is interested in artwork, she cannot stand the machine. The money, the prestige, the exclusiveness. Yeah. And like it particularly irks her, you know, and I'm like, well, it's the same in the fashion world. And she's like, yeah, but they're not pretending to be egalitarian.
Yeah, but it's just like, I mean, at the higher end, it just becomes like selling any expensive commodity.
Any commodity, exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
well, it seems to me like there is now a lot of space to make arts in lots of different ways.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
And you don't have to at all engage. In fact, you'll probably fail to try to engage on that top level. Yeah.
I mean, the people I know who do well at that level, just like I said, they're better than me. I'm not saying they're better artists or better people, but they're better at that than I am.
And what is that?
They're personable. They're like,
are you not personable?
I don't know. I don't know. They're friendly, engaged. They're knowledgeable about that world. They're people that people like to be around, and
they work a lot.
They're super productive, you know. So they have these certain qualities that I don't have. You know, I can fake it or.
Can you?
I don't know.
Doesn't seem like you even want to try.
I don't know. Just I am, you know, this is who I am.
Yeah.
I can't change who I am. You know, I'm not a networker. I'm not like a glad hander. Not saying that these people are glad handers or networkers, but like some people can innately sort of make connections and sort of like have a better sense of what's going on. And
Right. Well, I mean, the good news is in that you know what you're doing. You have instead created a space and are part of some sort of group who are showing work is otherwise not shown.
Yeah. And it's also, you know, for me, it's about, am I making things that I like? You know, am I doing work that I think is interesting? And am I stimulating myself? And, you know, and I'd say that's more important to me, you know?
Right.
And then hopefully, if I continue with that, other people can connect with it or are interested in it, or maybe not. You know, I have no control over that. And if I try to do anything else, it would be bad. Like it would just be
contrived.
Yeah, or just why would you know what I mean? There's no point in that because it would just be garbage and
right. But you don't think about stopping.
No, why? I mean,
I don't know why.
Why would I stop?
You know, it's just
it's fun. It's enjoyable. You know, like
yeah. As long as I mean, I guess as long as it's still rewarding to you, then it must be, regardless of what happens to it.
Yeah.
Or how it,
yeah,
whatever. But hey, I mean, being on the cutting edge is not a bad thing.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say that either. Maybe
I mean, cutting edge is a jerk word. It's a word which doesn't really mean anything, right? But you're in a buffer zone or wherever, whatever you're doing, no one else is doing. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, which is fine. I don't think that's the cutting edge, but it's different. I mean,
there's no edge to cut anymore, right? I mean,
just doing, trying to do things that interest me and I find interesting. And also I know people who are interested in the same things, and
right.
Gus and I connect on this kind of stuff. So it's good that we connect on that and we find that kind of stuff interesting. And
right. Gus used to be a really smooth talker. Like, he was the guy, like when the police came, get Gus out there, he'll talk us out of it, which is funny. All right. Well, I think we did it. I usually wrap up with asking, is art important?
It's important to me.
I know it's a trick question. Is it important beyond you?
I think having people that are willing to sort of investigate ideas and think about things in their own way is important.
Yeah.
Ask questions and
that's regardless of
push
whether
boundaries.
It's in an art context or not.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's sort of a limiting definition, or it can be.
Right.
There's lots of different things that are
right. Well, I mean, walls are being broken down.
Yeah.
As we speak.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think we did it. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Now, what do you think, people? Was I right? Was I right in telling you that Josh Mittleman might be the smartest man in the world? He's just one of those people who could always do it. When someone like me goofed off, I didn't get my homework done. I got bad grades in school. I fucked up job interviews. I did everything like that. And some people like Josh are just able. They have such a high level of capability and capacity that they can do all the stuff that I was doing, but also get away with it. They can still get great grades. They can become biochemists. I'm not complaining. Don't get me wrong. Everything is right with the world. Don't get me wrong. But I'm just continually impressed with this ability. And that translates clearly for this type of person. This translates into the type of work they make. This type of work signifies an understimulation with the world in reality. In my mind, that's what it does. They have so much extra intelligence and so much extra energy that it spills over into their work. And to this, I pay the highest respects. So, like we've been saying, go check out the show on Friday. Keep an eye on Josh's space he has with his wife, Flensborg 57. They will be starting up a exhibition series at some point in the future. There's a link to that on our website. All right, what else? There's basically no other news. I had a great show in Barcelona. Thank you for asking. And, there's always that feeling you get as an artist that when you accomplish something, you feel great. And then when it's done, you look around and you're like, was that it? No more? No one's going to hand me something? So for a half a second, I felt like, oh, great. Now what? And now I'm just motivated and moving onwards, upwards and onwards. And if you guys remind me, next week I'll tell you about the art fair I took part in, which has a lot to do with feelings of, exclusivity and shame in the art world. We'll talk about that next week. But in the meantime, I hope you guys are having a great week. We'll catch you guys on Friday. And thank you so much for listening to this show. This week's show brought to you once again by Undergang Unlimited. Intro and outro music kindly provided by Johnny Ripper. There's a link to Johnny Ripper's music on our About page on our wonderful website. Interstitial music provided once again by RC. Link to that on the show notes for this page. Where do you find out about all this great stuff? You find out about it on our website, undergang.net. We got everything there. We got images from the artists. We got links to the Twitter. We might even, rumor has it, be on Facebook. See if you can find out about that. You can listen to the show on iTunes or Stitcher Radio. There's links to that on the website as well. You could even, if you feel so inclined, leave us a review, maybe a 5-star review, whatever you feel is appropriate. It helps people find the show. And do not forget, we have apps. You can find links to our apps via our website, in the App Store or the Amazon Store, whatever device you might need. It's a great way to listen to the show. All right, enough. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll catch you guys next week.